Hey everyone, it's LitTube back at you, going with picks 11 through 20 now for the NFL Draft 2020 season. And I'm going to start by just counting them down for you. I mean, we had the Jets at 11 with Mekhi Becton, tackle out of Louisville. Then we had the Las Vegas Raiders going with Henry Ruggs III, wide receiver out of Alabama. Then Tampa Bay Buccaneers going with Tristan Wirfs, an offensive tackle out of Iowa. Then we had the 49ers going with Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. The Denver Broncos went with Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver out of Alabama. We had the Atlanta Falcons going with A.J. Terrell, corner out of Clemson. The Cowboys going with C.D. Lamb, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Austin Jackson went to the Miami Dolphins at number 18 pick, tackle out of UFC. And then we got the Las Vegas Raiders going with Damon Arnett, corner out of Ohio State. And then rounding it out, we had Clavon Chason, an edge rusher from LSU, going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that was our 11 through 20. Jordan, what are your initial thoughts on the picks?
It's a run on skill guys, wide receivers, cornerback, and a few tackles. Which is, if you're a team that's waiting for a defensive stud, you're loving this draft right now because a lot of the guys are going on offense. You're seeing the Raiders and the Dolphins making their multiple picks in this draft so far, and they're really beefing up their teams after making some moves last year to get those picks. I'm impressed, honestly, with all the picks so far. Nothing has really stood out or surprised me so far.
Yeah, it's been pretty spot on. A lot of good receivers that have been taken off the board. What was his name? First? I can't remember his name for the life of me.
Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah, Wirfs. Yeah, I mean, that kid, I didn't know too much about him, but we're watching his, little videos there, and it's like, dude was pushing an F-150. I mean, this guy's an absolute beast. I would hate, as a former D lineman, to go against that guy, because that guy's going to push you straight out of the game. Overall, been really happy with the receivers that have been pulled. Still a few on the table, hoping maybe we'll see what happens in the later rounds. Going forward, though, because we're looking now at 20 through 32, I'm interested to see if the Patriots try to take a quarterback. I don't know who they're going to take, but I am curious to see if they take one in the first.
Mike, what say you on this round of picks, 11 to 20?
The interesting picks continue, with 11 through 20, and so we saw a little bit of history with the Raiders' first pick. This is the first ever pick for the Las Vegas Raiders. So a little bit of history with this, and like Jordan said, with the wide receivers, they're really beefing up their teams. A lot of good wide receivers went, with these picks, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see, how they impact their teams.
Yeah, guys, as for me, when I thought this was a pretty decent run of picks here. The one I had the biggest beef with, and I know Jordan's going to disagree with me on this because he says Ruggs is his number one receiver for this class. I wholeheartedly disagree. Ruggs, to me, yes, he went to Alabama, and he's really fast. I mean, one of the fastest receivers you're ever going to see come out of a draft class. But he never even cracked 1,000 yards in college. I mean, to me, that's a red flag. He just wasn't dominant enough for me to really want to take him as the first receiver off the board. I still think he's a top 10 receiver for the draft class, but for him to go number one, I mean, this is typical for the Raiders. They also pulled Darius Hayward-Bay back in the day as the first receiver off. I mean, I don't know what John Gruden's doing, but the rest of the picks I thought were pretty darn good. C.D. Lamb going to the Dallas Cowboys I think is huge. He's top 3 receiver in this class for sure. I look at what the Jaguars did, rounding it out and pick 20. I mean, to get Chason, I mean, Chason, that's a hell of a pick there at number 20 for me. So, I think defense and offensive linemen continue to go, and great prospects going off the board early in the first here and in the mid-first at those positions. The way the receivers are shaking out has me scratch my head a little bit. But
I will say that's the boy devil's advocate involving Ruggs anyway. But his teammate from Alabama went 3 picks later to the Denver Broncos in Jerry Jeudy, and I think that's one of the reasons why he may not have cracked 1,000 yards is that you had another receiver who's a first-round draft pick across the field from him. Hayward-Bay did not have that.
That's true. And I think a lot of people like Jeudy because of his route running. I know he was Shannon Sharp said that was his number receiver, one receiver for the class. But I also think that the guys that were former receivers and tight ends, they usually do hype up the great route runners. Because I remember Steve Smith said Cooper Kupp was his favorite receiver in like one of the other draft classes, just off of route running. But I think there's a lot more you have to look at than that. And I'm not saying that Ruggs can't be good. It's just I think to pull him as the first off the board when really the biggest thing is just his speed. Like, I don't know. I need to see more. I need to see more production, more college dominance to really be comfortable in that pick.
Definitely an Oakland pick, to your point.
Yeah, they like their speedy receivers, though. It's just a question of is he going to be a John Ross or a Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the Chase on pick, actually, to go back to that makes a lot of sense. Seeing how they just, offloaded Calais Campbell to the Ravens. So they're going to need to build up that rush. I mean, that is a golden pick. Chase on, he was a beast at LSU. We saw what he can do, especially, again, another player from the SEC. And as I've called on former videos, the SEC is the NFL minor leagues. So this kid he's going to be a monster for that defensive front.
Yeah, and actually, let me also touch on the Tristan Wirfs pick, what I think Gerald mentioned a little earlier. Yeah. Like, because for Tampa Bay, I understand, like, you're trying to protect Tom Brady, and I think that's really important. But my question on this is I'm wondering how long it's going to take for Tristan Wirfs to really develop into that elite offensive lineman we all expect him to be, because it's like, in year one, that's what I'm curious about is in year one, in his rookie season, how helpful will he be to Tom Brady? Because I know that Tom Brady, he's always had a great offensive line on the Patriots. And that's one of my biggest question marks about this next season for Tom Brady is if his offensive line isn't as good as what he's used to, what's going to happen?
Look, I'm pretty sure Tom Brady has it written in his contract somewhere that unless you guys provide me with a proper offensive line, I'm not coming there. So this is just the first building block of what should be Tampa Bay's next golden O-line. I expect to see quite a few more picks down the road to boost that line. Again, I am curious to see what Tampa does, given that they just picked the lineman. I'm interested to see if they try to go for a quarterback down the road because, let's be honest, Tom Brady, 43? Something like that? I don't know who their backup is because I'm pretty sure they're going to get rid of Jameis. That's probably not – he's not going to be there next year. So I have no idea who their backup is and who their quarterback of the future is going to be. But maybe they'll address it tonight. Maybe they'll wait until next year. But, yeah, right out the gates, I will say this is a good pick for them at least.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be key in protecting Tom Brady on that offensive line. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the highlights, his highlights from college, but he has set up some seriously good defense for his quarterbacks and put on some nasty hits, some really good blocks. So I think he's going to be a key player on that offensive line. And it's going to be really interesting to see this whole new offensive line, with Brady and Gronk and the rumors of Edelman going there now too. So it's going to be interesting. And as far as Jameis goes, I can see them keeping him as a backup. Like Tom Brady's older. I doubt that line's going to protect him as well as the Pats line did. So could Jameis be a good backup? Sure.
Yeah.
Well, one last thing to touch on before we close out this video. What do you guys think about, like, given the whole coronavirus thing, and we know that the draft is completely different this year because of it. Do you think that's playing a factor in like how this draft is shaken out? Because I feel like for the most part, there hasn't really been head scratcher picks on this. Like I haven't seen a whole lot of bonehead draft picks. I feel like the general managers are drafting better in this draft than like previous years. And maybe it's because more pressure's off because of the way that they're drafting.
Yeah, I think 100%. I mean, you also got to realize that there's going to be really no spring training camp for the rookies. A lot of these players haven't had pro days. So a lot of the kids you're seeing are the guys that performed well at the combine. I know in years past, a lot of, some of the players that have been drafted early on, they had amazing pro days. Some of those guys aren't getting that. They're also not trading, which is another interesting point because I'm used to seeing at least one or two, draft trades, so far, but we haven't really seen any yet. So, I mean, I think the coronavirus 100% has an effect on this. They haven't even met the players yet or really had probably serious conversations. So they're simply going off of how good they were in college, how good the film was, and how good they did in combine.
It is intriguing to me how many skill guys like corners and receivers have gone, given how much it takes to get those guys up to speed to the NFL. I think those are the two hardest positions other than maybe quarterback for a rookie to adapt. And to see so many go without having a whole full spring and summer to get these guys ready. I'm intrigued to see how some of these guys do when the games become real.
Yeah, if there is a 2020 football season, because, again, that's still up in the air, unfortunately, it's going to be really interesting to see how this happens. I don't see a lot of the quarterbacks performing well. That's just me, just what I'm thinking right off the top of my head. I don't think Burrows is going to do good. I don't know if the receivers are going to be up to speed because, again, every corner you play in the NFL is the best corner that was probably on their team. This isn't just like in college you have the corner position. I feel like for a lot of kids it's just, all right, this receiver couldn't catch it well, but, hey, he can bat a ball down. Those guys in the NFL can catch the ball too, and they can also cover the shit out of you. So I don't know. I just don't know 100% how it's going to look next year.
I don't know. I mean, these players, they have virtually no time at all to learn the NFL playbook, let alone their teams, special plays that they do. So it's definitely going to be an interesting season and see how these players work out, how the plays work, and it's going to be a wild one.
Yep.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We are going to have at least one more video tonight where we're recapping the rest of the first-round picks. But for now, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and share our videos. Thank you.